All right, and we are live, and I'm here with my frequent sidekick, Artistic Layman.
Me. What's up, Doc?
And I'm waiting for this to go live on the YouTubes here. I don't know what the hell's going on. Um, hmm. Doesn't look like we're live on the. Oh, there it is. Okay. Thought there was some sort of technical issue. All right. So now that we are most definitely live, let's take a look at some stuff here. So it's technically Valentine's Day here on the East Coast. Hope y'all got your special lady or guy or binary non-binary other kid or whatever the fuck you got going on. Hope you got him a little something, because if you didn't, it's gonna be a pain in the ass. That's the thing. Everybody wants to be like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to do it because you're stupid." Yeah, it's stupid, but they got you by the balls. All right. Well, I'm a big alpha man. I can get away with not getting my woman nothing for Valentine's Day. Maybe you can, but you're still going to like piss her off. You're still going to ruin her fucking day. Like, just get her a goddamn flower. All right. I know it's stupid, but you have to. All right. Anyway.
It's the rules.
So there was a Nintendo Direct today. I did not catch it. However, I did see that they are doing a remastered Zelda game. And everybody expected the Switch to get a remastered Zelda game because that seems to be a common thing. However, this threw me for quite the loop. We're getting Link's Awakening. Awakening was the first Zelda game on the original Game Boy. Had very peculiar story for a Zelda game, and somewhat peculiar gameplay. The original Game Boy games, they, especially of the original Nintendo stuff, they always felt like, I don't know, spin-offs, supplemental kind of things, where rather than just being supplemental material, they felt a little spin-offy, but still very true to the source. Mario Land 1 and 2, for example, are, at least at the time, very odd Mario games, but still feeling very much like Mario games. The Donkey Kong Land series, it spun off from the Country series, especially the first one, were very odd compared to the others, but still kept the feel. And you see this with franchise after franchise after franchise. And Zelda was no exception there. You had Link on an island, and to escape the island, he has to wake the windfish. So there's no Zelda, there's no Ganon anywhere in this. It's Link stranded on an island. There's a lot of oddball cameos from Mario elements. Like there's chain chomps in it, there's Goombas in it. There's cameos by Kirby and Wart from Mario 2. Very odd little game. I'm excited to see it remastered like this. However, this is the sort of thing that should be on the 3DS. Now, I know everybody is so up in arms that Nintendo needs to abandon the 3DS and focus on the Switch. This is something everybody's saying, and I don't really get it, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I mean, look how long they kept the original Game Boy alive. There's really, it's splitting up development. They need to just focus on the Switch. I don't really get that. I really don't. I think the 3DS has tons of life left in it. I think there's no reason to abandon the 3DS. I know it's a little bit different this time because the Switch is sort of a console and portable, which is probably what Nintendo's going to do going forward. But it's still, because here's the thing. I very much like the idea of Link's Awakening remastered, right? I very much don't like the idea of paying $60 for Link's Awakening remastered when that's a $30 to $40 game, like 3DS games are. Now, if you want to just focus, if Nintendo wants to funnel everything into the Switch and take games that would belong on their portable system and put them on the Switch, that's fine. But they better be at portable system prices still. Okay. I really can't recommend anybody spend $60 on Link's Awakening. You know, maybe if I had the money, I would, because I'm a big old Nintendo dork and they got me by the balls. But I wouldn't be happy about it. I can tell you that much. That should be a $30 to $40 game, unless they add a considerable amount of content on top of just remastering what existed in the game. Because yeah, it was a game that had a battery save back when that wasn't common, but still, the original Game Boy games were not very long games. Yeah. I don't think you have $60 worth of content in Link's Awakening. So if it ends up being your regular $60 price tag game, I don't think that's any good. That said, though, I'm excited about the idea of it. I'm excited that a game like Link's Awakening gets some love. It had incredibly unique stories, characters, and a story to it. Definitely would be interested in the game. I just, maybe not at so anyways, the other thing I want to talk about, another fun little nerd story, and I'm gonna throw the article in the chat here for you, Luke. If I can get the damn thing to actually copy. Yeah, Link's Awakening is a fun game, by the way. It's actually one of the more pricey of the original Game Boy games. They made a remake on the Game Boy Color, which just colorized it and added one additional dungeon, which took advantage of the color. But the original on the Game Boy will run you like $20, which for an original Game Boy game is actually a bit pricey. Most of them have remained pretty cheap. But it's worth getting if you have a Game Boy or Game Boy Advance SP. It's definitely a game worth checking out. Anyways, I threw in the chat there. We got another little bit of news story. So Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meet in first animated movie crossover. In 2015, The Dark Knight met the Heroes with a Half Net show on the comics page for the first time. Now that team up is headed to animation with an all-star voice cast, and we've got an exclusive first look. This spring, Warner Brothers Animation and Warner Home Entertainment are teaming up with DC Entertainment and Nickelodeon for Batman vs. TMNT, an all-new animated movie that unites everybody's favorite turtles with the Cape Crusader for the first time outside the comics page. Based on the Batman/TMNT Turtles comic miniseries by James Tynion the Fourth and Freddie Williams II, the film will see the Turtles meeting Batman and featuring our heroes teaming up to face Batman's deadly rogues gallery. It said it somewhere on here. Anyways, I was looking for something specific. The film's voice cast features Troy Baker, The Last of Us, Batman Arkham Origins, as both Batman and the Joker. It goes through the list of people here. I could have sworn it said somewhere on here. It said somewhere in this article, I could have sworn it mentioned that it will be like an interdimensional kind of thing. But that was the story of the first crossover where it's like, I don't know, the Shredder made a dimensional portal or some shit and ended up in the DC universe. There actually was 3 Batman Ninja Turtle crossovers in the comics. There was the first one in 2015. Then they made a sequel to it called Batman TMNT Adventures, which was like a crossover between the Bruce Timm animated series Batman and the not current now, but current at the time Nickelodeon Turtles show, which I think was kind of cool. Make a sequel to it and just cross over 2 different Batman and Ninja Turtle universes. But then they had a Batman TMNT 2 here recently, which was a proper sequel to the first one. All 3 of which are solid reads. Fun stuff. and I'm looking forward to this animated movie. I think it's I've never, to the best of my knowledge, you've never really seen one of these comic crossovers get an animation adaptation. You know what I mean? Like these intercompany crossovers, like you never saw like a JLA Avengers animated movie or anything like that,
The most absurd thing I've seen in the Teenage Mutant universe was the Teenage Mutants. They meet their older selves and their newer selves from the comic book versions and the TV versions and all of their versions.
Oh yeah, the 03, the series that started in 03, the last, I guess not episode because it was like a 2-hour movie, but the last story arc in it was a crossover between the 03 cartoon and the universe of the old 80s cartoon. And then at the very end of it, they ended up crossing over with the original comic book thing, which I'm a sucker for that because I'm a sucker for multiverse stories. I'm a sucker for like parallel universe stories. I really prefer those kind of like crossovers where you just admit that the things don't exist in the same universe and just have them meet as like parallel universes instead of, just acting like they were always in the same universe and are just now meeting. Nostalgia Wound says the newest TMNT live action movies were the only superhero movies I've enjoyed since Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Everybody wants to crap on the on the Michael Bay's TMNT movies, and I gotta say I'm not fond of the designs of the turtles themselves. But the first one's not bad, and the second one is actually damn good. Just the fact that you have a live action movie that has, Bebop and Rocksteady, Krang in the Technodrome, Casey Jones, Stephen Amell is Casey Jones, no less. And what the hell's his name? Blanking on his name. The Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry as Baxter Stockman was fantastic too. TMNT Out of the Shadows is a pretty damn good movie.
Mainly because they focus on everything that makes the Ninja Turtles fun.
Yeah, exactly. TMNT Out of the Shadows tries to be nothing more than it's just a Ninja Turtles movie. It's just like, hey, let's have some Ninja Turtle stuff in here. And maybe have some more Ninja Turtle stuff in here. And Bebop and Rocksteady are so much fun in it. Like, you're playing that scene where they're on the plane and they're the guy gets, there's like a tank in the plane and the guy gets on it and shoots it and destroys the plane. Yeah, I liked it.
Seriously? Yeah, that's my bad. I got a little carried away.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
And it doesn't end there either. They crash the plane. They go rolling through a river, and finally, Bebop and Rocksteady escape. Like, see you later, turtles. That's nice of them to say goodbye. And heads up as they head to a waterfall.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so those are a bit of a nerd stories I wanted to cover because, there's enough bad news out there. Okay, so maybe something cool. Like there's a cool animated movie coming out. There's a cool game remake coming out. So, I'm happy with that. Like I said, though, I might not be paying, might not be okay with paying $60 for Link's Awakening remake, but it might not be that, though. I know there's some Switch games that came out that were less than that new. Like, I think Bomberman R was like $30 or $40 new. So, it might not be that. Just kind of sitting here like, well, it shouldn't be that is the real thing.
In the meantime, Disney has released a couple trailers as well. They've released the new Aladdin version where we actually get to see the genie, and they've actually released something for Frozen 2, which is very strange.
Frozen 2. We'll all be lucky if she's not a fucking lesbian in Frozen 2.
They're making it look like some sort of epic Lord of the Rings journey story.
Whatever. Frozen 1 sucked. The thing about the Aladdin movie, and I said, you know what? I'll just read what I said on the Facebook page because I think it's poignant. Let me bring it up. I should have had it up, but I don't because I'm just not fucking professional. So while I'm stalling for time, I'm going to go ahead and say that tonight's episode is sponsored by Steve's Jerky, folks. You should get you some Steve's Jerky because Steve's Jerky is delicious. And in my personal experience, Steve's Jerky will protect you against the hexes of witches. Now, Steve doesn't make that claim himself, but that's just been my personal experience with the product. So let me, and also down below, you'll see the tip jar where there's the Patreon and PayPal and the Amazon wish list. And if you want to support the show, you can, hit those up. A one-time donation of any amount on PayPal, a regular sponsorship of any amount on the Patreon, or you could just buy me some dumb shit that I like on the Amazon wish list. So I said this on the Facebook page, facebook.com/the Bechtloff, by the way, about the Will Smith genie thing, because I did check it out. Will Smith's genie doesn't really look that bad now that I've seen the final look. Really, it looks as good as it could without drastically changing the character design, which we would have also all bitched about. The real issue here is something that worked in a cartoon might not work in live action. Just look at how disturbing all the servants turned furniture look in the live action Beauty and the Beast. The problem here is, when you get right down to it, the whole film is a bad idea from the get-go. These live action remakes, it was an interesting experiment for 1 or 2 movies, but it's clearly time to stop. That's the thing. Everybody immediately was like, oh my God, it looks so awful. It looks so awful. I was pleasantly surprised it looked better than I thought it would. You don't have to throw stuff up on the screen for it, by the way, Luke. You don't have to be trying to play videos unless we really need it. Because I know you're trying to distort it and all to get the algorithm, but don't worry about it. Unless we really need to play a clip. Don't worry about finding a clip. Just still images is fine.
But as you said, Bechtloff,
It's time to stop.
Yeah. Nostalgia Wound says Nintendo figured out people will pay $60 for a $40 game. Well, here's the thing, though. I might pay $60 for a $40 game if I really, really want it. Okay, if I really, really think it's a good idea, because I'm a Nintendo nerd who's an adult and has the disposable income to do that. I don't know that everybody's going to pay $60 for a $40 game. You see, that's the thing. It would actually be smarter to just sell it at $40 because you're going to sell more of them. Okay, when you sell it at $60 when it's clearly a $40 game, you're going to get the guys who really, really want it. But if you sell it at $40, you're going to get all the guys that just want it. Somebody says, I'll buy it used just so I can pay less. You're not going to be paying much more less. I'll be honest with you, Nintendo games hold their value pretty well. Partly because Nintendo actually makes games. And I know this sounds like my Nintendo boner thing and my Nintendo Master Race shit, but there's a reason most games made by the AAA publishers, drop like 50% in value in the course of 3 months. That's because most AAA games are incredibly disposable garbage. And people, even the people that claim to love it, they buy it for like a week and they beat it and they get sick of it and they sell it back to GameStop 2 weeks later and forget it ever existed. That's the life of most AAA games. Now, there's exceptions to that, obviously, even outside Nintendo, like, Red Dead Redemption probably holds its value and all that kind of thing. But for the most part, hell, outside Rockstar and a handful of other companies, AAA games exist to be immediately consumed and then forgotten about. That's why they don't hold their value. Nintendo games remain fun for years to come because they actually focus on being fucking games. Nostalgia Wound says most Wii games are dirt cheap. Wii is in that perfect sweet spot where it's just old enough that people kind of forgot about it, but not old enough to have a lot of nostalgia around it. Like a few years ago, that's where GameCube games were, right? And now a lot of GameCube games are getting stupid. in price. And yeah, the Wii is in a really nice sweet spot where you can get really cheap, great games for it. I mean, I only have a handful of my Wii games left. My Wii U kind of shit the bed, and I don't have a working Wii, so I don't really have any way to play them. But I'm just sort of holding on to them because, you know, I will have a way to play them at some point. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, we got a parody song video coming up here soon, folks. It's gonna be great. I gotta record the little DJ spiel. Luke has the actual song done, and then once I get that recorded into him, it should be no problem because he can just reuse the same animation from before. Maybe
no addition, no nice little images or memes we want to use just in case.
It just reuse the same animation. You know, you change the radio station name and then maybe change the comics that are pictured there, and that's about it.
All right.
Otherwise, you can just use the same animation. Save us time. But yeah, we should probably be able to get that out in a few days.
Oh yeah, if that.
So that'll be up here shortly. I know there was the Fur Burger video here recently that turned out really good.
No, that was fun to make.
Dude, you went all out on the visuals on that.
I could just
like,
leave
just throw up a picture of them. We just need a picture, and you were like, no, that's not what we.
That's not good enough for me. I need to make some fun stuff on this.
Yeah, that was dude. The Sprite in like at Walmart with the blue, that came out fucking perfectly, man.
Let's see. There we are.
You want to play it? It's only like a minute.
Well, I'm just showing this to give people the idea what it was.
Oh, dude, look at that. That's just so fucking cool, man.
It was so hard finding the sprite sheets, though, or at least the ones that weren't completely underrated. And then and of course, we have a little appearances by our good old friend Gozer.
That was all off the top of my head too. Yeah, like I kind of came home because originally I was gonna be like going on about we're gonna get Thor and Odin and stuff like that, and then I just Gozer popped into my head and I just ran with it. It just popped in there, as Ray once said. Let's see. I'll go into the chat here. People talking about modern systems, that sort of thing. Which, by the way, folks, Nostalgia, when he's in the chat, he has a review of a Star Wars game up. If you haven't checked that out, Nostalgia Wound is the most underrated gaming channel on YouTube. I'll tell you that right now. There's a lot of gaming channels I like, and his is right up there. So he says, I love having retro games all in one spot. Yeah, I'm actually looking to build one of them RetroPie, like little arcade cabinets. Like not cabinets, little arcade boxes, like a plug and play. It's just a question of having the time and the money just simultaneously to put it all together. Let's see. He's trying to message me on Facebook here. Nostalgia Wound says that's a high compliment, friend. Thank you. Well, it's a great channel. And you do oddball games too. I like that because clearly you're just grabbing what's cheap at a thrift store or something. But that's it's interesting. The peeing clips in that video were not mine, by the way. I was wondering what that was for. I was like, what the hell, man? When in the peeing clips, when the guy pisses all over the fucking diaper changing station and then just sort of casually like folds it up, because I just about lost it, dude. Like I'm in the break room at work watching that, and I'm just bursting out laughing. Like people looking at me like I'm a madman. I don't know where you're finding that art, by the way, Luke, but that's delightful. Somebody says, have Luke look up Yellow Pea Monster on YouTube. I remember there was a prank somebody would do a while back where they poke a hole in the the cap of a water bottle and be standing with their back turned to people and make it look like they were taking a piss. There's one where like the cop is going right up to him as he's doing it, and then as soon as the cop sees what's really going on, the cop just burst out laughing. If you want to come on, Nostalgia Wound, I'll send you a link if you want to hop in and chat for a bit. My mail and send it to you. Come on. Everything's so slow tonight, man. Must have a virus on here from all that Kim Possible porn I've been downloading. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
Oops. We can cut out in editing. No, actually, I think my computer's slow because somebody put a curse on it. I don't want to dig up the topic too much, but like honestly, I've never seen something like that fucking live stream Sunday. Imagine spending 2 hours while you're retreating away from somebody, spending 2 hours shit talking them, while at the same time going on about how you don't care. I don't even care about this person I'm spending 2 hours talking about. They're not entitled to my time as I spend 2 hours talking about them. They're just a big nothing as I retreat from the internet from them. That was surreal. I like the Little Mermaid flipping people off. That's hilarious. And not just any people. Where are you? There we go. Fix that up a bit there. Here we go. Now we're talking.
Oh, that was hilarious. Richard Bechtloff says there's a live action Kim Possible in the works. Just saw I saw the trailer a while back. The guy playing Dr. Draken looks pretty good, but the rest of it looks pretty weak. I can't remember that actor's name, but he was the voice of Batman in Brave and the Bold, and he was also in the Drew Carey Show. He's a great character actor, especially for that kind of goofy, nerdy kid shit. So I have no doubt that Dr. Draken will be amazing in that movie. But the rest of it looks pretty fucking bad. Such a shame. It's one of Disney's best cartoon shows ever.
It's almost Spy Kid level bad.
Yeah, like it's not even that the effects look bad. It's just something about, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm no filmmaker, I don't know all the keyboard shortcuts, but there's just something about the cinematography that just seems, I don't know, bad. You know what I mean?
Cheap is probably the right word for it.
Like, I can deal with bad effects, but it's almost like in video game terms, the difference between graphics and presentation, It's just the cinematography of it looks really amateurish. Hey, Common Filth, what's going on?
Why is Ariel flipping me off?
I don't know. Luke finds the weirdest shit.
It could get a lot weirder if you look up the yellow.
Yeah, I guess considered who I'm talking to. Common Filth's like, oh, you want to know about finding the weirdest shit, buddy?
Yeah,
get your ass down.
It's like one of the last times I was doing that was just like looking at these blog posts from these people. I'm just like, it went from like mockery to anger, and then at the end, I'm like, I just feel depressed for these people. It's like I now know what it means to pity. It's just, yeah, I've never. But yeah, the yellow pee monster, the clips that were in my newest video over there, that's where it came from. This guy in late 2009, he uploaded a bunch of videos on YouTube, and it was shock and awe because this guy even got featured on Tosh.0.
Oh,
And he just has dozens of videos where it's like PP monster attacks the Savers bathroom, the gas station bathroom, the bathroom at a middle show, and it's all the same thing.
when he just when he just sort of casually and gently puts the thing up and lets it off. I don't know why, but that got me so bad. Like I'd never seen these, and I'm like, I have to assume that he got this from somewhere because I know Common Filth wouldn't just be doing this shit.
Yeah, it came from you could look it up. Like if you look up Yellow PB Monster on YouTube, the first result is him getting featured on Tosh.0. And obviously his shit got taken down, but there's still some stuff of his up on YouTube that it's community standards restricted and all that, but it's still up there.
I missed the Wild West days of YouTube and the internet. I missed that so bad.
I know now it's all corporate and bland. It's just the trend. It's like the new JonTron video. He makes the joke about the ghost of late night, and he's all like, "We already gave you the trending tab. What more do you want?"
Why do you haunt me, Spectre? Are you here for your lost relevance?
Yeah, that was great.
I love how JonTron, and again, that's an example of. I mean, he's by no means corporate, but he's gone professional. You know what I mean? You could tell his stuff got professional. He got the Flex Tape sponsorship and all that.
Yeah, but he finds a way to actually weave it in convincingly. And his stuff's always been like a cut above in terms of his effort that he puts into it. That's why he's gone for longer periods of time, because he actually cares about what he puts out.
Oh yeah, his stuff's great. He's one of the, like, if TV still mattered, his stuff would be good enough to be on TV.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of, it's like his level of humor is somewhere between like Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, because he does swear a lot. But I could easily see like him slotting in like after the Andy Milonakis show on MTV2 back in the day or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I love JonTron stuff. I see a new JonTron video. I'm like, yes. I don't even need to know what it's just JonTron's new. Yes, click.
That Dan Aykroyd is he's a strange guy.
Oh yeah, he's I watched a video, I can't remember, Good Bad Flicks, I think is the name of the channel. And they did a video on the making of that movie Nothing But Trouble that Dan Aykroyd was in and directed and all. And it's really interesting. Like that movie's, I don't think that movie's as bad as everyone says, but it's definitely rough. But you could see the brilliant movie that almost was there.
Yeah, I watched the Red Letter Media guys talk about it. It's just the most aesthetically offensive mainstream movie I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, but there's a brilliant movie in there, but it got really, really butchered by the studio in post. And a big problem with it is Chevy Chase, because Chevy Chase at just some point just decided, fuck this movie. and stopped, like, and was an asshole to everyone on set. You know, kept telling Aykroyd was the director and playing several roles, and kept telling Aykroyd to eat his ass for some reason. Like Chevy Chase just turned into a complete shithead to everybody for some reason. I guess he wasn't getting enough coke that month.
Yeah, maybe. I hear that's how he is by default, because I just read an article how like his contemporaries like Bill Murray are really in demand, and they're doing all these projects with all these people because people like working with him, but he's kind of left out because basically the article kind of said that he's an asshole. So maybe that's just how he is.
Yeah, supposedly he was that way on Community too, that show that he was on for a while. It just, yeah. And I noticed that he didn't work with a lot of his contemporaries back in the day. You see that the rest of those guys were constantly doing movies with each other. And Chevy Chase just did his own solo kind of movies with no other major stars most of the time. Yeah, come to find out, it's because he was, a huge shithead, apparently. But yeah, Aykroyd supposedly made that movie because when he was driving around upstate New York at some point, he got pulled over by a cop who forced him to go to the house of this like 100-year-old judge to get like the ticket thing, and the judge made him stay for dinner or something. And Aykroyd's like, it was the weirdest experience of my life. And I kept thinking the whole time it could have easily turned into a horror movie. So I decided to make it a horror movie.
Yeah, that's all throughout the back roads of America. You just find the strangest, most peculiar people who could easily make their own stories and have them be interesting.
Well, I've always joked, if a cop tries to pull me over in the deep South, I'm just going to keep on driving because that's how horror movies start.
Squeal like a pig.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. How about you follow me up north once we're back to some civilization, and then we can sort this out.
Oh yeah, especially in like the Appalachian Mountains, where it's like you got these towns where it's like one lane dirt road in, and it's the same one you take out.
But yeah, that I always felt like as I watched that movie throughout the years, I always felt like it was very like it's not really a good movie, but it was very, very close to almost being a brilliant movie. And I feel like it's definitely something the studio probably butchered.
I hear that he's like in the red letter media thing they did about it, because that's the only exposure I've had to the movie, and they said like he just has these scripts upon scripts of just all these insane ideas that are completely unfilmable. And actually tying into his ideas, I was actually reading the early Ghostbusters 3 ideas. One of them was actually really funny. One of them was about like they enter a dimension where all the aspects of modern life are just completely amplified to the most maximum extreme, and it's to the point where it's like traffic is nothing but gridlock, the cars don't move, and no two people speak the same language.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, man, that would have been a great movie.
Well, the comic over at IDW, based on Ghostbusters, where they used they supposedly they had access to a lot of Aykroyd and Ramis's unused ideas, and the whole multiverse part of it gets like heavily used in the book. Like they've met like the Ghostbusters from the cartoon and stuff like that. It's just that kind of thing.
Yeah, the comic books really seem to be the dumping ground for that. Like all these ideas that were done by the professionals but never saw the light of day. So
but then
they get scraps of it.
You see though, I find especially right now, there's a lot of licensed properties that just have really, really brilliant comics based on them. Where once you get to like the movie or show level, there's too much money on the line, and nobody wants to take risks, But when when you got just a comic book, that's licensed, nobody cares. So the writers can do a lot of interesting stuff with these properties.
Yeah, I can't imagine the budgets are very high for it.
No, it's just pay a writer, pay an artist, and then printing costs. That's it. There's some decent Star Trek comics out at IDW. There's the Ghostbusters comic. I think is just absolutely fantastic.
I don't know too much about this, but how many of the big tentpole, big budget superhero movies? How many of them actually take their screenplays from what was actualized in the comics? Like, do they draw any inspiration from those?
The Marvel Cinematic movies draw a great deal of inspiration from the comics. For example, obviously, the first movie is going to be kind of an origin thing, but like Captain America 2 is based off of a storyline called Winter Soldier from 2005. The Captain America 3 thing is based off of a Civil War storyline. The Marvel Cinematic stuff takes a lot of direct influence right out of the comics.
Yeah.
And to its benefit. A lot of comic book movies over the years have been held back by how much they've had to change. Now, part of what they have to change is the fact that in some cases, because they don't necessarily have rights, you know what I mean? Like, just an example, like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the Avengers are actually Magneto's children, but Magneto doesn't exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because they don't have the X-Men rights. So they have to change why those two have powers. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that always got me. It was especially as it relates to Sony, because they're the ones that I guess leased it out to Marvel because their movies were crap. Like they're trying to do the Amazing Spider-Man thing, and they're like, we can't do this. So
technically, they're not the first one. Everyone forgets that when the Marvel Cinematic Universe started, Universal still had the rights to the Hulk. That Incredible Hulk movie that Edward Norton was in, which is technically part of Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though he got recast, that was a Universal film, and then Universal got a check for Avengers, which I mean, it's such a no-brainer. It's like, why wouldn't you do that? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you share? Yeah, would you like some money for doing nothing? Yeah, I would actually like very much some money to do nothing. That sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Right, and it's not like they're doing anything with it anyway. It's an aside, but I think there should be use it or lose it laws.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, use it or lose it laws, like, because that Fantastic Four movie where Johnny Storm was black for some reason from a couple years ago.
Yeah,
they literally only made that movie because they were going to lose the Fantastic Four. Fox was going to lose the Fantastic Four rights if they didn't do something. So that movie was basically, and they knew that they were going to lose money on it. They knew all the way through production, like, this is a train wreck. This is worse than, the Fantastic Four movies from the mid 2000s. I don't think are that bad, but they weren't that well received. There were very mixed reviews on them,
And imagine being on a project like that.
Yeah, imagine making a movie just out of spite.
It's got to be so demoralizing because it's like the suits are telling the director, like, look, this is what we're doing. And it's like, man, how could I be creative? How could I be motivated to do this for 16 hours a day?
The cast of that movie, the ones that played the actual Fantastic Four, they walked around San Diego Comic-Con that year and were recognized by no one.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine that? Like, can you imagine how demoralizing? It's like your first major movie. And, imagine signing up for that. You're signing up for a big superhero movie when superhero movies are super hot. And it turns out like, oh, you wished on a monkey's paw to get this movie role.
But the cool thing, I don't know. That's like a bittersweet thing because you actually get to enjoy it as like a regular person and not get mobbed.
I actually really like the Fantastic Four movies from the mid 2000s. The only problem I ever had with them was I thought that they really butchered Dr. Doom. That the casting and both how they changed the character around were just terrible. But with the actual people playing the Fantastic Four, I loved all of them. Hell, even Jessica Alba wasn't that bad in it. I mean, she's usually a pretty terrible actor, but I feel like in those two movies, the writers knew, let's not put too much weight on that pillar.
Hey, yeah, although eye candy, whatever.
Yeah. But like the guy from The Shield that was playing the Thing in those movies, he was great. Chris Evans was a good Human Torch. The guy that played Reed Richards was fantastic. He really captured that like absent-minded genius aspect of the character. That genius that just has a little bit of the tism in him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not collecting Thomas the Tank Engine train toy tisms. Just the kind of tism where he's just a touch socially awkward, just a little absent-minded. That kind of thing. The kind of genius who would wander around his lab for 20 minutes looking for his glasses, not realizing they're on top of his head. That kind of guy.
He didn't go full Christian.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Yeah, he was. He didn't force Dr. Doom to read really creepy fan fiction he wrote.
Have you been following his dimensional merge business?
Oh, jeez. What is...
Never mind. I don't want.
I saw a little bit of it. It's just like, holy crap, man.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. From the impression I'm getting is that Christian's now being harassed by kids who were like 2 when the internet discovered him.
That's so weird, man.
It is weird. And these kids are like I've been following this dude since the beginning. And now it's like these little kids who were infants back when the internet first found out about him are now playing an active role in his life and how we perceive him. his internet fame. It's just I don't know how he gets roped into it.
It's so weird too. Like if that guy, and I realized that obviously he's not going to because he wouldn't be in this situation in the first place if he was sane. But if he was sane, like he could capitalize. He has enough internet fame he could capitalize on it. Like he could sell like really shitty bootleg like Sonichu merchandise, and people would pay for it just like for this weird bit of cultural history that it is. You know what I mean?
He's had an Etsy store on and off.
Yeah, but he never he used to like rip people off. Like he wouldn't keep up with the orders. He'd take the money and just not fill out the orders and shit.
Yeah, that's why he took down the store. But he still has an active Patreon, from what I understand.
Oh, jeez, Patreon.
So people are paying him through that. I'm
just saying, people, like, you know, he's probably got way more of a Patreon than me. Okay.
And he's still he's probably still getting disability money too.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's the fact that, you know, the welfare state will keep this sort of thing alive. There's just no denying the dysgenic effects of the welfare state.
Now, damn, this is oh wait, he doesn't have the middle finger. Never mind. I thought I was like, damn,
I thought he was flipping us off too. Like, maybe that's what he thinks that flipping someone off is. I don't know.
There are pictures of him giving the middle finger, so I think he does know the difference.
He looks like a lesbian that owns a used bookstore in that picture.
He looks like a witch.
Well,
this is not leading. This is not a leading comment.
yeah, I was gonna say I've had some experience with those folks lately.
I know you're dodging hexes and all this. It's pretty bad.
I know. Well, thankfully, all that delicious Steve's jerky provides a magical protection.
Damn, and I stopped eating beef a while ago.
Or it could just be the Holy Spirit. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be that too.
Maybe a combination of the two.
Yeah, it's like Christian shows up to these cons and gets applauded now. He's like a celebrity.
I did a video on here where I explained to a buddy of mine that's like not savvy on internet weird fucking culture. I'm like, you know, let me sit down and explain to you the saga of Christian. And I showed him like pictures and little videos. And he's just sitting there like, why? What is this? Why is this a thing?
Oh, the blue arms. You've triggered him.
Oh, jeez. I'm like so embarrassed to be a Sonic fan anymore.
Are you familiar with that? I'm sure you are, but just for everybody else, that from the original one where Steve Urkel voiced Sonic, where he's like,
oh yeah,
he's talking about if somebody touches you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's not good.
Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I could call myself a Sonic fan because it's like I like the old cartoon with Princess Sally and the comic that was based on that, and I like the old Genesis era games, and then I kind of don't like anything else about the franchise.
It's weird. Like people say, like, oh, the 3D era of Sonic is when it kind of went downhill. But it's like you can still find people that like the Sonic Adventure games. I like the second one. The first one I don't like so much, but and then Sonic Heroes is okay, very glitchy. But yeah, I think Sonic 06 is what really gave it that reputation.
Oh yeah, Sonic 06. There's a game channel I like called the Geek Critique, and he did a big, because he's a huge Sonic fan. He did a big long thing on Sonic 06, and he really talked about how like Sonic 06 is what made Sonic officially a joke to people. Like it was so bad, and it was bad in a way. I love how he put it. He said it was a bad in a way that was really, really interesting and funny. And it was a bad in an interesting and funny way right as YouTube became a thing. So it was this perfect storm of just fucking terrible. That it was so bad it like retroactively, you know, made everyone think the other games before it were bad.
That's Providence.
And, like he said at one point, he goes, at the end of Sonic 06, I guess there's like a time travel thing where the whole story didn't actually happen. And he goes, but actually there was a time travel thing where he went back in time and ruined his reputation from the get-go.
Another thing too is like I think at that point Sonic fans, even before Christian, got a reputation. Because I remember seeing some really weird shit from the the Sonic fan people and I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? I just like these games on the Sega, and I didn't know there was this whole undercurrent of perverts that like this stuff.
It's so weird too. It's I don't know what makes it such an autism magnet. It's like
I don't know if this is true, but I heard this from somebody where I don't know if you've seen the Leon Kennedy "No Way Fag" meme.
No, I don't think I have.
Luke, I think you might have seen it, where it's like Ashley, I think her name is, the president's daughter in Resident Evil 2, is all like, I'm ovulating, have sex with me, Leon, which she basically does in the game, and this guy illustrated it.
Oh, jeez.
If you look up "No Way Fag" on Google Images, you'll find it. But the point I'm making here is like the guy that drew that, he draws like anthropomorphic stuff, and apparently on a live stream he says like that he draws a lot of furry kind of seeming stuff because like people pretty heavily bullied and abused him back when, and that's why he doesn't really like people. So I felt bad. I'm like, man,
I don't know. Maybe that's what causes it, because you can't. I don't know. Everyone wants to blame like the actual stuff itself, but it's like, look, we've been having cartoon anthropomorphic animals since the 30s. Okay, this hasn't been this much of a problem until recently.
Right, and then you have Egyptian hieroglyphics with all these weird hybrid creatures too.
Yeah. Okay. This is, it's not the thing itself. Okay.
No way, fag.
I actually hadn't seen that before, but there's like a whole image of it. It's really funny. Well, the guy who drew that apparently he gave that explanation, and it kind of made me sad.
I love the still that you're on there, Luke.
Resident Evil 4 was that was a great game because it was like one of the few games where it's like I actually paid attention to the cutscenes because they reminded me almost of like an 80s action movie where it wasn't like, oh, we're trying to be bad on purpose. It was just goofy. It was just goofy fun. And it had no real self-awareness about it. It was very unapologetic, very entertaining.
Yeah, I get tired of that sort of like winking at the camera shit. It's like, no, cut that out. All right, enough's enough with that.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 had none of that.
I'll tell you when it really drives me nuts. It's like that's all like so-called comedy anymore. It's just like trying to wink at the camera. And I don't know. To me, the best comedy is the stuff that's played kind of straight. You know what I mean? Like the reason Leslie Nielsen was so funny in all those parody movies is because he played all those roles like drama roles that he was good at. So he delivered like these ridiculous lines with the utmost sincerity. And that's what made them so funny.
And there's a lot of ways you could be it as well. It's like you could be just completely off the wall offensive. But now it's like most comedy is just it's this low conflict kind of thing. Like in everything I'm noticing it, but comedy, since we're talking about it, it's just like, oh, knowing chuckle. Oh, look at this opinion I'm expressing that we all have sarcastically, knowing chuckle. I hate that shit.
Yeah. I remember when Amy Schumer first came out, and there was about like 10 minutes where I thought she was fucking funny because she was just really edgy and like, just, like here's a bunch of jokes about abortion and HPV. And, the audience is like half uncomfortable. And I'm like, I like that kind of shit. I like the sort of humor where like, you laugh even though you feel bad about laughing is the best kind of comedy sometimes. Like, but then after a while she's like, oh, I'm a champion for women's rights and somebody disrespected me on the internet and I'm gonna cry about it. And you have to treat me like a lady and all this other horse shit. And I'm like, are you kidding me with this?
It's weird because before she was at that level of popularity where she's getting the commercials and all these movies and whatnot, she wasn't like that. it wasn't until after she got this, mega stardom that she starts espousing this stuff. People get to these people. I'm convinced of it. There's no way that all of these people can have exactly the same opinions about everything.
Yeah, that might be it. Like she had a bit once that was just so I can't remember how she put it, but she said something like, I'm drinking more heavily tonight, and then she pats her stomach, she goes, because I'm drinking for two. And everyone's like, oh, like kind of thing. And then she goes, well, for now, somebody's getting evicted. And just like everybody is just like, holy shit. and I like that. I love when the audience is uncomfortable with a joke. Like I love that. I don't know. It's just that little bit of Andy Kaufman thing where you're fucking with the audience.
Yeah,
Razor purposely making that. I love that kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, Razorfist did a good video detailing exactly that. It's like, what are we supposed to laugh at if it's not something that makes us uncomfortable? If it's something we're familiar with, then it's not really funny.
Yeah, that's part of why it's so hard to be funny clean. I mean, some people are funny enough to do it, but it's sort of like being a really good boxer with only one hand. Yeah, it's possible, but you're kind of at a disadvantage right from the gate.
Norm Macdonald is like, if you watch him on like Conan or whatever, when he's a guest, he's funny on it, and he doesn't do anything really explicit. He's just messing with the guests, and he does it in such an expert kind of way.
Oh, he was so great. There was this was from back in the 90s, but he was on Conan, and they had some ditzy actress who was in some movie with fucking Carrot Top called Chairman of the Board.
Yeah, B-O-R-E-D.
Yeah, he's like, it should be Chairman of the Board, B-O-R-E-D. And this poor girl is trying not to laugh at it, but she knows the movie's shit. she can't. Oh, Norm Macdonald was so great.
And he's like, oh, she's a lovely lady and a talented talk show guest. Like he does that beat where he's like gonna say like actors, but he doesn't say it.
There's a bit when he went on The View in like 2000, like Bush had just been elected, but he wasn't president yet, you know what I mean? Or he had just he was the president-elect, but not the president yet, right? So Clinton was still the president. And he's on The View, and he said like, yeah, I endorsed Bush, and I think he'll be a step up from the current guy, with all the sex scandals and the people he murdered.
Oh yeah, the Vince Foster thing.
Yeah, like he's on The View saying this, and everybody's like flipping out, and he just looks around. He's like, "What? President's a murderer? I thought we all knew that."
He plays the fool expertly. He approaches it like a child would, and you can't get mad at a child. That's the genius of him.
His weekend update was probably the best weekend update Saturday Night Live ever had. Yeah, well, I remember when he came back to host Saturday Night Live because he just had a few movies. And I really don't think that he you have to get your monologue approved, but I think he fucking just gave him a fake monologue and went ahead and did this anyways. He gets on there and he goes, I was really weirded out when they asked me to host Saturday Night Live because they fired me a couple years ago because they said it wasn't funny enough. And I thought to myself, well, that's weird. Did I get more funny, or did the show get worse? It's the latter. And then he's like, I'm telling you, the show's really bad. Like, there's this one guy. Well, you'll see.
I've not seen this Daffy Duck one, by the way. This is disturbing.
Oh, that's the that was that Duck Dodgers cartoon they had in the mid 2000s, based on the old like Looney Tunes Duck Dodgers thing.
I missed out on that one.
Yeah, it only ran for like a season or two, but you remember like the old Looney Tunes Duck Dodgers cartoons?
Yeah, I used to watch all those.
Yeah, Looney Tunes was great back in the day. Well, they made just a whole series based just on like the Duck Dodgers concept. And that's actually like the Queen of Mars. Like it's Marvin the Martian's people.
She's trying to mix with the duck here.
Apparently.
I mean, they both have the same skin color, so it's not really.
So That was very alt-right of you.
Oh boy. I was just saying it as a matter of fact. Like, you fucking race mix.
Don't be race mixing.
It's like you fucking. It's another Razorfist reference, but he's like more mixed than the Aryan youth. I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Oh, dude, I had somebody hop onto my Discord, and then like because I guess he was mad that I promote miscegenation because I don't actually really have a problem with it. And I've even said on here I have a problem with it getting pushed in a really obnoxious way, but I don't have a problem with the thing in and of itself. And so this guy, he goes onto my Discord and he just types like "fuck nigger babies" like 47 times, like adding me and all the mods on the Discord. And then he was like, "Bye." Like, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, you showed me."
I just don't understand what he's trying to accomplish.
I was like, I sure feel foolish. Because he even said like, because you he said like that'll teach you to promote miscegenation. I'm like, yeah, I sure learned a lesson today.
Well, and the tragedy of it is like you go into their family lives, you look at their parents. It's like, okay, maybe you're pure, but it's like, what are your parents? They probably hate each other. That's not good. What good's that doing you? That pure white blood if your parents hate each other. It's like your family's broken. What good does it do you?
The white race is my family.
It's a pretty empty feeling.
I mean, I hate to sound like one of those fags. It's like I'm the centrist and I'm above it all, but it's like, just having the idea that yes, race matters, but it's not all that matters, seems to have me fighting with everybody now.
Yeah, it's like these are people with very little to themselves. So it's like, well, what do I have? I have my blood and I have my genes, and that's it. And they get really, really defensive over it.
Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Let's see. Jennifer Dahl says, no, Amy Schumer's sister was the brain behind all her good jokes. If you hear Amy Schumer's unscripted, she's terrible. She is that social justice on her own. That might be true. I just remember like I can't remember when, but it was like late in the Bush years, maybe early Obama years, but I want to say like late in the Bush years. Probably like 06, 07. I remember seeing Amy Schumer like stand up for the first time because it was far enough back when stand up was still something you watched. You know what I mean? Like I'd watch Comedy Central, and if they had just a new stand up special and I didn't even know who it was, I'm like, oh sweet, stand up, you know. And I remember watching it, and it's like yeah, they were really fucked up jokes about all kinds of debauched, like HPV and shit like that, but it's like cool. I like dark humor, But I remember.
Oops! Had the silly thing in reverse.
I remember when I think it was like 2012 when I first saw what like a piece of shit she actually is. Somebody had a fake Twitter account that was called Amy Schumer's Vagina. And like on the bio, it said that its hobbies were HPV and penises. And it like tweeted at Amy Schumer and said, "You have to wash me. I smell like the dumpster behind Red Lobster."
Oh.
And she reported that Twitter account for harassment and got it taken down. And I'm like, no, you don't get to be telling those kind of edgy jokes if you can't take a joke yourself. If like she should have been like retweeting that all the time and saying this is hilarious. You know who was really good at it? Lisa Lampanelli was someone that could take a joke and she could take as good as she gives.
Well, it's like you're still I think like a comic of her generation is still operating under these sort of, codes of conduct that are really, unwritten rules that are put in there by men. But Amy Schumer's a product of a very feminized society. So it's like, oh, you offended me. I'm going to drop my comedy act now.
Yeah, I
and,
just
and she could get away with it.
if you can't take a joke, you got no business telling a joke, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, maybe she always was like some leftist, but it's like, really, it's like, who would have introduced her to these ideas? These people don't strike me as very bright. It's like somebody gets into their head, programs them, and really amplifies what's already there to the nth degree.
Yeah, Lisa Lampanelli was funny, but you talk about the decline of comedy. I remember when Comedy Central used to do those roasts all the time, and they were something that was just appointment television to me. Like, even if I didn't give a shit about who they were roasted, I just knew it was going to be a bunch of comedians, and they were all going to bring their absolute A game, and it was going to be hilarious. And I mean, I don't even know if they still do it anymore because I don't watch Comedy Central anymore. Because holy shit, have you seen it lately?
I can't even
You can
imagine.
take a dick, you can take a joke.
I mean, Daniel Tosh was the last thing on there with any balls. He's another one that would just do the kind of jokes that made everyone uncomfortable. Like went on about he said something about female teachers sleeping with students, and he's like, oh, these, he goes, oh, it's supposed to make the kid cool if he bangs a teacher. Well, I banged a teacher and it didn't make me any cooler. And you say, well, Daniel, that's because you were homeschooled. That's not the point.
Oh no. Yeah, I remember there's a show on there, Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn.
I remember that show.
And that kind of got phased out because women took over Comedy Central and were like, we don't like this. It's too confrontational.
Yeah, I miss the heydays of Comedy Central.
Yeah, the heyday of Comedy Central was kind of like bro TV. You had like the Spike TV where they advertised themselves as TV for men. I think Blue Mountain State was the last show in that genre because I haven't seen one since.
The Man Show back with Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla.
Yeah.
I mean, and then look at what a cuck Jimmy Kimmel turned out to be after a while. It's like what happens to these guys, man?
Somebody got to him.
I guess.
It's like I remember when Anthony Bourdain killed himself. It's people around these parts are speculating he kind of saw what he was promoting or who he's getting his money from and he couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I also like the theory that he got killed because of the heroin money, but it's like I watched his show a lot and he seemed like a lucid guy. He has his biases and whatever, but seemed like a guy you could actually have a conversation with. I remember he went out shooting with some guys. He's like, I think we should have as many guns as we want, but the rest of you, I'm not so sure about. So he's a reasonable guy open to a dialogue.
Yeah, I don't know what. I remember it used to be, and I mean, I barely ever turn the TV on anymore. But it used to be, I turn the TV on and immediately check what's on Comedy Central. But now if I could, I'm damn near ready to call the cable company and say, can you block that channel just so I don't accidentally tune to it?
Yeah. The whole TV system it's like, oh, you have to pay us because you have to get this, and you have to pay us X amount per subscriber. It's an insane business model.
I really think that what would help what would help it is if you could pay just for channels, for each channel individually. You know what I mean? Like you get a 20 channel package and you just pick a la carte what channels you want with a company. And I used to think that I didn't like that idea because 10 years ago, I would have said, well, all the really cool, weird, niche, esoteric channels would be gone because they wouldn't be able to support themselves. Being part of the larger package keeps all those little oddball channels alive. But there are no little oddball channels anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gone are the days of little oddball stuff like G4 or something.
Oh yeah, G4 is a perfect example because they went from very rigidly a video game TV channel to more general interest stuff. It became like Spike TV. It's like all these channels that have a pretty narrow focus at the start. It all becomes trash by the end with no real theme to it.
Yeah, MTV is the first example of that. Oh, it's all music stuff. Well, okay, and then it's comedy shows, and then it's reality TV, and then there's not even any music on it. So we make MTV2, and that's all the music videos. But then we immediately start showing reruns of our shows on MTV2.
MTV2 was the home network for Wonder shows, and so I can't take that away from them.
And you know what? Some of the shows on MTV were good, but that's not what they started out as, was it? I remember like late 90s, early 2000s, you could only really find videos on MTV like early in the morning, like before school,
Or TRL, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, TRL right after school. But yeah, just nothing on TV anymore. I mean, there's a handful of shows, but there's 300 channels, and you'd be lucky to find a dozen shows worth watching out of the whole bunch.
Well, that's where streaming came in, is because people are starting to realize that it's like streaming didn't disrupt it, the traditional TV model. The traditional TV model necessitated that change. They brought this upon themselves by just having trash on there.
Yeah, Luke's got that Adult Swim picture up there. Man, Adult Swim back in the heyday. I mean, that rerunning a Family Guy on Adult Swim single-handedly brought that show back. Like suddenly a bunch of people discovered that show that never watched it.
Futurama too. Futurama had that.
Futurama. Adult Swim just had great stuff. Aqua Teen Hunger Force was so fucking brilliant at first. I actually got my fucking boomer dad to finally watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Like, it was weird. Like, I'm watching it around him, and at first he's like, "This is so stupid. Why do you like this? It's so stupid." And he's just sitting there all mad. He's like, he's not gonna leave the room or anything, but he's just sitting there all mad. And then after a while, he's like, "Okay, actually, this is hilarious." Like, it took him a minute to kind of get the point of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, And I love the way he described it. He said, "There's a line in there where Shake is saying something to Frylock, and Frylock's like, 'What's your point?' And Shake just goes, 'I never had one.' And that drives you crazy, doesn't it?" And he said, "That's ultimately the synopsis of every episode." You think it's going somewhere, but then it doesn't.
Well, from what I understand, the show is kind of written like the voice actors actually improvise with each other, and that's how they structure the episodes.
I mean, I know it became the meme Fedora show, but I mean, that's a lot of what made Rick and Morty really funny, at least the first two seasons.
Well,
was just two voice actors basically rambling on, and then they animate around it.
The Steven universe is offending my sense of
I don't know where that came from, Luke. He finds the weirdest shit.
Well, it's like there's finding it, but then there's who's the one who made it. I think they're the weirdo.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like finding those weird statues. It's like, hey, look at this. I found it, but I didn't make it.
Adult Swim was the tits back in the day.
Let Pearl. What's the point?
It's a show about space lesbians.
Awful.
You know what? Like, there's so much of this like fucking rainbow horse shit and all. I feel like if you were writing a sci-fi kind of story and you wanted to take a different look at like gender or sex in an alien race or something, I feel like you couldn't do that without baggage now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I was right, if there was a Star Trek show and you wanted to write like, oh, this particular race, they don't have individual sexes. They're all both sexes, and when they mate with each other, they each get the other pregnant or something like that. Now you can't like touch that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it acknowledges.
Because immediately you have somebody wanting to turn that into some sort of perversion, and not just a sci-fi story imagining what would a sentient race be if gender and sex were completely different to them.
Right. And then it becomes, oh, this is transphobic, this is homophobic. Yeah, you can't explore these ideas without being called some sort of ism.
Or with one of these freaks like running with it, like, yeah, that's how we should be. And it's like, no, this is just a sci-fi story. We're just imagining what it would be like.
And this is why you need Jesus. Because it's like, if you don't have the Bible, then you're gonna have Steven Universe. And that's what these people are filling that God-shaped hole in their soul with, is Steven Universe.
Have you heard of Jesus?
They think this is all real.
Yeah, you couldn't. Like I said, you could. like imagine an alien race that can just change its they're both sexes, or they can change their sex at will, almost that kind of shit. You couldn't write something like that now without it ended up being some sort of fucking thing in a culture war. It's like, no, I was just trying to imagine this alien race that works differently than us.
No, that's really what the powers that be, the culture at large does a really good job at narrowing people to have ideas within a very, very specific bandwidth. And that's what you're seeing. Are you familiar at all with Adventure Time, how that turned out?
I watched a little bit of it when it first came on. I know I had a buddy of mine that thought it was really cool, but I never really got into it. But I heard it really got off the rails towards the end.
Yeah, here's the thing. I remember seeing what ended up being the pilot for it. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. Yeah, I remember seeing the pilot for it. Like it originally aired on Nickelodeon. And it was this great short tune about a boy and his dog going on adventures. It's like celebrating boyhood, and then the show degrades into lesbian fan fiction bait. I mean, what more perfect microcosm is there of our culture than what happened to Adventure Time?
I don't know. I mean, and these are supposed to be for kids and shit. Like, come on.
Oh yeah, the Teen Titans, the new Teen Titans, the most recent one. I don't know how old it is now, but there's a clip where they're promoting outright homosexuality between the characters, and they're kids. They're all making hard eyes at each other. It's like, holy shit. And people are letting the kids watch this. Yep, there it is, right there.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If I had a kid, I wouldn't even have cable in the house. Like, it's like, no. We will watch shows on DVD. How about that? Shows I know are okay.
Have your own carefully curated 1 terabyte external hard drive full of all the media their little heart could desire.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, we'll have plenty of cartoons to watch. Don't worry.
This was the one thing you could rely on the original anime style version to not do, at least yet.
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. And I hate sounding like one of those guys, because so many of my fellow Christians, they whine too much about oh, there's too much violence in this, or it's just dumb shit. And it's like, no, I like the idea of kids' cartoons being at times dark. You know what I mean? But when I say that, I mean like in the Bambi's mom got shot kind of way. You know what I mean? And I don't even mind it having an adult joke in there that'll go over the little ones' heads. I don't mind that. Because I kind of look at it like, if the kid gets it, then it's because the kid already knows what that's about. You know what I mean? It's not explaining something to him. But this is something else. Okay.
This is explaining it to them and saying, like, isn't it cool? Don't you want to be like this?
Like, let me put it this way. In the old Batman cartoon from the 90s, right? It's extremely heavily implied that Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn are fucking. Okay? But A, they're villains, so nothing they do is really meant to be celebrated in the first place. But B, they don't explicitly say it. It's not out there. It's just sort of implied. And if you're adult enough to know that that's a thing that might indeed be happening, you might catch on to it. But no kid had lesbianism explained to them watching that show. You know what I mean?
Put it in the hands of the people that took over Adventure Time, and
Yeah.
well, you'd see it.
Yeah, it'll be
different art going
20
on there.
minutes of them scissoring.
I found prints! No, fingerprints. I don't think so.
Oh no, that's dirty.
But no kid fucking got that, okay?
Yeah. I mean, I laughed at it, so I can't be like, "Oh, that's terrible." But
Yeah, like I wouldn't have a problem showing my kids Animaniacs, okay?
How'd that get through the censors? I'd like to know.
Because the censors probably didn't catch it. That's the thing. You know, whatever old fuddy duddy was at the censors didn't catch what that means. Yeah, I don't want I don't want to be one of those no fun allowed type Christians, but damn it, there's got to be some line drawn somewhere, all right?
yeah, I'd say that that sodomy is a pretty that's a good place to start.
And it's not even just that, but it's like, look at Steven Universe, and it's like, you know, okay, because you can technically say it's Steven Universe that they're aliens and they're not really whatever. But even if I take that issue aside, why is the fucking hero of the story a fat little retard? Like, why is that something the boys are supposed to look up to? You know, why does his single dad live in a van while he's raised by space lesbians? You know, like what?
I think they did the same thing to the Adventure Time main character. Like they made it really depressing and horrible. It's like the what happened to that show really I should really watch it from front to back to see to sort of track societies slowly and you just the overall decline of the culture within the last 5 years because it's happened so quick.
Yakko, can you conjugate?
Oh, me? I've never even kissed a girl.
No, it's easy. I'll conjugate with you.
Good night, everybody.
You don't understand. Let me go to the board and show you.
Don't look.
Yeah, the last 5, it's basically been since about 2012, 2013, where I guess it was after Obama's re-election, the left just figured they won and they went whole hog on the culture. Because right around 2013 is where you can see everything just went to shit, like almost overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there were issues before that. But no, it's like suddenly like everything turned to shit. I know I'm a comic book fan, and that's right when Marvel Comics went to shit. Like just completely. Yeah, there were problems before that, whatever, but all of a sudden just you know, it's Muslim Miss Marvel and it's you know what
I think it is
girl power shit and just crap.
I think it might be like a more macro thing than just Obama. I think like that time period was when millennials really started to take root in the workforce, and they're the true believers. We are the true believers, and so it's like you see more and more millennials infiltrating these spaces where media is created. They're getting more and more influence. I think that's it more so than Obama. I think Obama is more just of a symptom of that.
Yeah, I use that as the thing. It's like him getting reelected, though, just sort of like that's when the left just decided, okay, we won, and they just decided to throw the mask away. Like it's not that the groundwork wasn't being laid before, but that's when they just decided, you know, okay, well, I guess we're good, and they just pulled, you know, they turned all the dials up to 11.
Yeah. No, it's the symbolism of it's definitely important to them.
Yeah.
It's like you look at what's happening in the schools. It's like I remember talking like AOL Instant Messenger. I talked to all sorts of people, all sorts of really interesting people, lots of in retrospect sickos. Like this one guy, he's like, oh, my girl and I had a threesome. Oh, now she's pregnant and we're getting married. I'm like, what the fuck? That was like my first taste of it. Like, wait, this generation's starting to make these kinds of decisions. It's like, why would you marry? Why would you have kids with such a harlot? I don't understand.
Well, I don't
It's like,
understand people that my girl got pregnant. Like it was just like really, they just. I mean, they don't sell condoms where you live. How did you let that happen?
yeah. Well, at least with this guy, it wasn't like a male female thing. It was like a the kid was his, obviously, but just these
Well,
are the kinds of people that gave us an Obama, and it's like really it comes from the schools. It's like at the end of the day, most people go to public schools. They're being filtered through this stuff, and this is where it's like they start liking their teachers more than their parents because guess who they're spending more time around.
I can't imagine how bad public schools are now. I went to a public school 15 years ago, roughly. I graduated high school, and I mean, it was actually a relatively conservative-ish school and area, and it was trash then. I can't imagine what it's like now. I can't imagine how, I mean, I've had teenagers call into this show before, and I said, look, I mean, obviously take my advice with a grain of salt, but if I was magically 16 again, I would, the day I was legally allowed to quit school, I'd quit school, get my GED, and go to school for electrician, be an electrician or something. Like, get the fuck out of there. You're wasting your time. It was a waste of time when I was there. I can't imagine what it's like now.
Well, you've seen them Vine marathons. It's like these kids didn't come out of nowhere. It's like that little ginger kid. He's like 8 years old. I found his video and he's talking about how gay marriage is a human right. Fucking 8-year-old kid.
What's the old saying that when you have when there's a kid like that, it's like a vegan cat. Who's really making the decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's either the parents or the teachers. One of the two is spending more time with these kids. One of the two is giving them these ideas.
Like that kid they got dancing in the gay club or something. That drag queen kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the kid's 10.
And that's just one. The list is lengthy.
Oh, this kid is a gay kid. It's a kid. It's not supposed to be anything. This kid likes. You know what I liked when I was 10? I liked Sonic the Hedgehog and Ninja Turtles. That's what I liked when I was 10.
Yeah, back when girls were just mom. That's what it was. It's like a child doesn't have any state of mind about these things because they're not physically capable of having one yet.
Yeah, they don't have a sex drive of any kind.
But that's just it. Is you look at the foundational document of the gay ideology calls for the abolition of age of consent.
I remember a couple years ago, I was sort of, I kind of thought like the age of consent stuff might need like tweaked a bit because you'd see the reports that some 19-year-old kid got put on the sex offender registry because he got caught with a 17-year-old girlfriend or something. And I remember thinking like, that's not right, man. We need to have some sort of reform. And then I saw all this shit, the salon virtuous pedophile crap. And now it's like I'm afraid to even mention that. I'm afraid of some give an inch, get a mile kind of shit with this. Like,
oh, it's absolutely the case. It's like look. I think France was the first nation to repeal its sodomy laws back in the 1750s, and look at it now. It's like again these people. If you give them a quarter, all this. It's like, why do you think they're named after a bundle of sticks? They start fires. That's all they do.
I mean, at this point, we have just outright a narco tyranny. A man hits on a woman, politely, and he's going to get, was it the one anime voice actor is getting destroyed because he hugged a fan at a convention? Meanwhile, we got this shit going on. Meanwhile, we got pedophiles writing for Salon about how you're the bad guy because you don't like them.
Or how Milo Yiannopoulos is talking about how there's a lot to be learned from such relationships. Words he said. I'm not making those up.
And again, you contrast that with the fact that, a 19-year-old kid got put on the sex offender registry because he got caught with a 16-year-old girl. That's the world we live in.
But Larry Brinken gets caught with like infant rape porn and he gets like 2 years probation.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a narco tyranny. It's truly the worst of both aspects. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because it's getting late. Thanks for being on, Common Filth. Always great having you on.
Yeah, this was
Is this like the only stream you come on anymore?
Yes.
I got to say, I'm kind of touched by that. I'm kind of honored. Like, I'm the one guy Common Filth comes out of fucking retirement for. I like that. The humble little Bulbasaur.
Yeah, this is like third or fourth time I've done it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I always like coming on.
Yeah, you're a great guest. Love having you. So yeah, that's about all we got for tonight, folks. If you enjoy the show, do check out the sponsor. We got Steve's Jerky, and it is absolutely fantastic jerky. And I'm very picky about jerky. So, also you can check out the tip jars down below, where you can send a one-time donation on PayPal, become a regular supporter on Patreon, or you can buy me some of the dumb, goofy shit that I like on the Amazon wish list. And remember, every time you donate to me, a pagan cries. So keep that in mind. And that's about all we got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. Bechtloff out.